पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारश्च तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। नमः श्री शङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे। For the verse 163. विज्ञानमय मुख्येषु कोशेष्वन्यत्र चैव हि अन्तस्तिष्ठन्यमयते तेनान्तर्यामितां व्रजेत्। बुद्धौ तिष्ठन्नान्तरोऽस्याः ध्यानीक्षश्च धीवपुः। धियमन्तर्यमयते इत्येवं वेदेन घोषितम्। तन्तुः पटे स्थितो यद्वत् उपादानतया तथा सर्वोपादानरूपत्वात् सर्वत्रायमवस्थितः। Here the author is in the process of explaining the different attributes or the terms that are used by the Upanishad to denote the Anandmaya or the Prajna, the one who is in deep sleep. Esha Sarveshwaraha, Esha Sarvajnaha, Esha Antaryami, Esha Sarveshwaraha. The question was, how can Anandmaya, who is Prajna, which we think is an individual jiva, how can he be called Sarveshwaraha, the ruler of all, Sarvajnaha, omniscient? How can you say that? So, different, now Upapatti is meaning, the yuktis or reasonings are given here, Anukula Tarkam, explanatory or supporting Tarka, the logic is given here to show that this what the Shruti says is reasonable. In order to show that it's Sarveshwara, it is said that this Prajna or Anandamaya creates a waking in the dream worlds, which no one can undo, which means that whatever he does, it remains. And so nobody is superior to him. Otherwise there is a ruler greater than him. then a greater ruler can undo what a smaller person has done. But no one can undo what the Anandamaya has done. That's so that is Sarveshwaraha. And so, that is one thing. Then Sarvajnaha. Also it is said that in the deep sleep are the vasanas, or in the potential form, the entire waking in the dream world. In the deep sleep really, there is no distinction between individual and total, because there is a blanket of ignorance. Even the individuality itself merges into ignorance. There is no sense of individuality. And therefore, where the individual merges in deep sleep is in fact nothing but the totality also. And therefore, the vasanas of all the waking and the dream worlds of all the living beings are potentially there. And the one who knows them, he is called Sarvajnaha. So if he is Sarvajnaha or omniscient, how come we do not know him as omniscient? Because he knows everything in an unmanifest form. The whole creation is there in that stage in unmanifest form, not manifest form, and therefore that manifest omniscience is not there. The omniscience is unmanifest because he knows everything in the unmanifest form. So Sarvajñatvam was explained. And now he started the explanation of what we call Antaryami, the one who is the inner ruler. Because Esha Antaryami, he is Antaryami or the inner ruler. And he said that first of all is Antaryami or the inner ruler with reference to individual, because Vijnanamaya Mukhyeshu Kosheshu. He is the one who is different from all these koshas, namely Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, etc. Antaha Tishtan, and he remains within the Vijnanamaya also. And Yamayati, he controls the direction in the Vijnanamaya or the Karta. So Vijnanamaya is the Karta and Jnata. The agent of action as well as the knower is this Vijnanamaya. And who prompts him to gain various knowledges? Or who prompts him to perform various actions? Nothing but this Bhokta inside. So Tatah Karta, Tato Bhokta. So Dehad Abhyantarah Prana, Pranadabhyantaram Manah, Tatah Karta, Tato Bhokta, Guhasayam Parampara. This is the Guha, this is the cave in which the Atma is, and said that it is like going from the body to the prana, to the mind, to the buddhi, and to the Vijnana Bhokta, meaning the Anandamaya. So he is the innermost, and he in fact controls his buddhi, prompts buddhi to gain various forms of knowledge so that various actions can be performed and so that various pleasures can be gained. Therefore we say that Anandamaya is the Antaryami here. And what applies to one individuality also applies to the whole creation. Buddho tishthan antaraha asyaha dhiya anikshasya vadhiyapuhu dhyam antaryamayati ityavam vedena ghoshitam. We read number of statements yesterday as to how one who remains in the buddhi, for whom the buddhi is this body, whom the buddhi does not know, and who remaining within the buddhi controls the buddhi. So that this one, verse 164 explains that particular statement of the Upanishad. And then said that what applies to all paryaya. As you say, the Upanishad one by one gives all the cases, all the elements are given, all the different elementals are given, all the individual upadhi is given, all the devatas are given, and said that this Antaryami remaining within all of them controls them all. And so, yes, sarveshu bhutetu vishtan, one who remains within all the beings and remaining within controls all the beings. How in the verse 165 was said, Tantuhu patesthitaha yadvat upadanataya tatha, just as tantu or the thread is, it remains within the cotton as a very material cause of the cotton. And the thread controls the cotton, because the color of the thread, the color of the cotton is the color of the thread. And so whatever the properties the cotton has, they are all the properties derived from the thread. And that way we can say that which is the material cause controls the effect. So upadanataya, so that which is the upadana of the material cause, just as it controls the effect, and so also Anandamaya is the upadana, meaning the material cause of the entire creation, and therefore he controls the entire creation. Now that is discussed further in the verse 166. Says, Nanu upadanataya sarvatra ayam avastitaschet kidu sarvatra nopalabhyeda iti asankya. If you say that Anandamaya, meaning this prajna is the upa, what is prajna? Is nothing but the consciousness as reflected in the maya, along with all the samskaras of the buddhi. So that is called Anandamaya. And if he is the material cause of everything, sarvatra ayam avastitaschet, if you say that this Anandamaya is present everywhere as a very upayanam or as a very material of everything, Kimiti sarvatra naupalabhyeta, how come you do not perceive him everywhere? Just you say here that the cotton is the material cause of the cloth, and you perceive the cotton everywhere where the cloth is. Or you say that the clay is the material cause of the pot, the clay is perceived wherever the pot is. Similarly also, if this Anandamaya is the material cause of everything, then we should be able to perceive him everywhere, because he is the material cause. The material cause is that which obtains where the effect is. You say that the material cause is that which controls the effect. And that's how material cause becomes the Antaryami. And Anandamaya is the material cause of everything. Then wherever the effect is, wherever the creation is, there we should be able to perceive this Anandamaya who is the material cause. And how come we do not perceive him? Iti asankya sarvantaratvat. Because he is the indwelling self of everything, and therefore you are not able to perceive him. That's the idea conveyed in the verse 166. Patadapyantarastantuhu tantorapyam shurantaraha Antaratvasya vishrantihi yatra savanuniyatam. Patadapi antaraha tantuhu tantoho api amshuhu antaraha. So you make an investigation now, an inquiry. Patadapi, pata means the cloth. Patadapi tantuhu antaraha. Tantu means a thread. So thread is inner with reference to cloth. So understand what is meant by inner. Thread is supposed to be inner with reference to cloth. So in case of cloth and the tantu or the thread, that inner and outer is not with reference to really the space. So the inner and outer is with reference to the cause and effect of subtle and gross, or that which controls and that which is controlled. What is outer is controlled, what is inner is that which controls. What is outer is gross, what is inner is subtle. What is outer is effect, what is inner is cause. In that way, patadapi antaraha tantuhu. We say that the thread is interior with reference to the cloth. Alright, tataha api amshuhu antaraha. Amshu means the fiber. The fiber is interior even with reference to the thread, because thread is made up of the fibers. The twisted fibers make up the cloth, and the untwisted short fibers make up the thread. And so, with reference to thread also, this fiber is interior. And in this manner, if you keep on going, somewhere this whole chain of internality has to come to a stop. Somewhere this has to come to an end, So if you keep on going within, how far will you go? Somewhere it has to stop. Antaratvasya vishrantihi yatra. Wherever is vishranti, meaning wherever this antaratvam or this aspect of internality, it comes to a stop, or where it culminates. Asau anumiyatam. May you know by inference that this antaryami or anandamaya is where this series of internality ultimately resolves or comes to a stop. You can see how, like, scientists are inquiring here, except that this is an inquiry with thought. They don't have the tools that the scientist employs to actually open the matter or split it, but you can arrive at the same conclusion even by thought also. That if you pursue this whole chain of external and internal, then a point must come where the internality must stop. If it doesn't stop, there can be no existence at all. Because anavastha dosha, suppose it doesn't stop anywhere, in that case, you do not arrive at what is internal ultimately. Then what happens? Nothing can be established. See, this cloth cannot be unless the thread is. Thread cannot be unless the cotton is. Meaning the outer cannot be unless the inner is. The effect cannot be unless the cause is. If you don't arrive at the ultimate cause, which is not an effect, you must ultimately reach a point which is the most interior, which itself is not exterior to anything. You follow? Otherwise, nothing will be established. Because we have what we call anavastha dosha, or the infinite regression. There is something like saying that if one consciousness has to be illumined by another consciousness, then that consciousness will have to be illumined by yet another consciousness. And this will go on forever. And there is no illumination at all, because we have not yet reached the point which ultimately illumines. Everything is illumined and there is no illuminator. And so also, unless there is a point which is most interior, with reference to which there is nothing interior, meaning that this whole thing must have Vishranti or a Parakastha or an ultimate end. Otherwise, you cannot establish, you cannot arrive at any substance at all. So, Anumiyatam, you have to infer that there is a point where this sequence of internality comes to an end, beyond which there is nothing interior. And this is pursued by Kathopanishad very well. Indriyebhyah paraksharthaha arthebhyasya param manah manasastu para buddhihi buddhehe atma mahan parah mahatah param avyaktam avyaktat purushah parah purushanna param kinchit sa kashtha sa paragatihi. So start with the sense organs which are the grossest, and go to the sense objects, and to the mind, and to the intellect, and the total intellect, and avyakta, the unmanifest. And beyond the unmanifest also is this Purusha, or the consciousness. Subtler than consciousness is what? Interior to consciousness of Purusha is what? Purushanna param kinchit. There is nothing superior, nothing subtler, nothing interior, nothing that controls this Purusha. Sa kastha, sa paragatihi. This parakastha, meaning is culmination of this chain of interiorness or superiority or subtlety. Sa paragatihi. That's the ultimate goal or the ultimate end. If such an ultimate goal or end is not there, then this sequence will go on and on forever, and we cannot arrive at anything at all, any existence. So, Anumiyatam, this has to be known by Anumanam, by inference. Atravidam Anumanam. The Tikakara says this inference is contained here. Antaratva taratamyam kvachit vishrantam taratamyatvat anatva taratamyavat iti. Antaratva taratamyam kvachit vishrantam. Taratamya means this comparison or the sequence. So this sequence of antaratva, antaratva means this interiorness. Kvachit vishrantam has to come to an end, kvachit somewhere. Taratamyatvat, because wherever this comparison is, the comparison always will ultimately stop somewhere. If you come to the ruler, you must find an ultimate ruler beyond which there is no ruler. If you find the greatness greater, you must come to ultimately the greatest beyond which there is no greatest. All taratamya, or all this kind of rising or ascending series, must have a certain end. Every taratamya or every ascending series must come to a stop somewhere. This is what we find everywhere. And therefore, here also like anutva taratamyavat, anutva means in smallness. You keep on splitting a particle, make it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Ultimately, it must come to a stop somewhere beyond which there is nothing smaller. Now he uses the illustration of what we call the Vaisheshikas. So Vaisheshikas say that the whole creation is made up of 5 elements, as we say. And at the time of dissolution, the whole creation resolves into 5 elements. Not 5 gross elements, 5 subtle elements, which retain the individual identity, but beyond which there is no further resolving. So Anu happens to be, now there is Dvanuk and Tranuk, etc. So the Tranuk resolves into Dvanuk and Dvanuk into the Paramanu, and the Paramanu happens to be the ultimate in subtlety or smallness. So they imagine a particle which becomes the building block of the whole universe, and that is what they call Paramanu. So Anutvatarathamyavat, just as a gross matter ultimately comes to a stop in terms of its smallness in a Paramanu, so also every Taratamya or every ascending or descending series must have an end somewhere, and therefore this Antaratva, meaning this aspect of interiorness, also must come to a stop somewhere, and that is Antaryami, that is Anandamaya. Okay. But this is by inference. Now the question remains, Nanu Antaratvevi Amshuvadivat Antaryaminah Darshanam Kim Nasyad Ashankya Teshamyah Bahyatva Bhavat Na Drushyadeti Abhiprayana Aha. Nanu Antaratvevi, you say that is Anandamaya or Antaryami, is Antara, meaning he is within. So in spite of his being within, Amshwadi means Amshwadi, Amshu, like the fiber, etc. So you are able to see the fiber. When you see the cotton, the cloth, then you can see the cotton, and when you see the cotton, you do see the fiber. So fiber, in spite of enjoying what we call a sense of internalness or subtleness, even then it is perceptible, and so also your Antaryami, your Anandamaya, who is the most interior, why should he not be perceptible like a fiber is perceptible when you perceive the thread? Antaryaminaha darshanam kim nasyat. How come we should not be able to perceive this Antaryami if he is present even as the most interior? Iti asankya teshamiva bahyatva bhavat na drushyate. The peculiarity or the characteristic of the Amshu, meaning the fiber, etc., is that fiber is interior with reference to thread, but fiber is exterior with reference to its own components. So what we find is, everything is an assembly. Like cloth is an assembly of the threads. Thread is an assembly of the fibers. Fiber is an assembly of, again, some small components. And each component turns out to be an assembly. So, in this manner we find that, even though like a fiber may be interior with reference to cotton and thread, it is still exterior with reference to its own component. And that component again is an assembly which is exterior with reference to its own components. So the reason why we are able to see this fiber is because it is not the innermost, it is inner always with reference to cloth, but it is external with reference to its own component. Teshamiva Bahyatva Abhavat. The Amshu, meaning fiber, etc., has Bahyatvam. Although it is interior also with reference to something else, it is exterior with reference to other things, and therefore you are able to perceive it. But the Antaryami or the Anandamaya is the one who has no Bahyatvam at all, meaning there is nothing interior to that. It is the ultimate culmination in the interiorness, and therefore it is not perceived. That is said in the verse 167. Dvitryantaratva kakshanam darshane pyayamantaraha navikshate tato yukti shrutibhyameva nirnayah. Dvitri antaratva kakshanam darshaneti. Kaksha means a stage. Up to second stage, third stage. So when you pursue this interiorness, up to second stage, third stage, etc., darshaneti, you may be able to see that which is interior up to second or third stage. But api ayamantaraha na vikshate. This one is the most interior, and therefore na vikshate. Therefore he cannot be seen. I mean, when you go, even they also recognize that when you split a particle, a time comes when it becomes so small that you cannot perceive. Today also, when you start splitting even the subatomic particles, a point comes beyond which you are not able to perceive, because there is a limitation to the magnification that you can have, beyond which it is going to be imperceptible. And you develop bigger microscopes, will be able to magnify into a greater degree, but then also you will come to a point beyond which you cannot perceive. And so, as far as this smallness or interiorness is concerned, a point definitely comes beyond which you cannot perceive. But then you still have to accept that something is there. You cannot say that this particle has ultimately resolved into nothingness because you cannot perceive. Because there is a limitation of perception, and therefore you do not perceive, not that something is not there. So that's very important. Darshanepi ayamantaraha, even though you may be able to see up to 2 or 3 stages, anything that is even beyond that you cannot perceive. But still you cannot say that it is not there, because had that such stuff not been there, certainly what you perceive also cannot be there, because what you perceive cannot come from nothing. And therefore, even when you keep on splitting anything, it cannot culminate into nothing, it has to culminate into something. That something has to be there, although it may not be perceptible. But then, by arthabhakti, meaning, had that such stuff not been there, what you perceive also would not have been there, and therefore we have to accept the presence of something that is there but not perceptible. So, ayam antaraha navikshate, and therefore what we are talking about as antaryami is at a point which is beyond your perception, and therefore you are not able to perceive. You are not able to perceive antaryami or anandamaya in spite of his being everywhere. Not because he is not everywhere, but because he is not perceptible. Why is he not perceptible? Because he is interior with reference to everything. And as you go interior, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, subtler and subtler and subtler, and it goes beyond your range of perception. As a matter of fact, it is not even anta in the sense that it is not somewhere in the matter. This is interior with reference to everything. This is interior even of the one who is observing. Meaning this antaryami or anandamaya is interior with reference to the one who is even making this inquiry. And so, what is most interior? You can say that this room is interior with reference to this property. And with reference to room, the body is interior with reference to the room. My mind is interior with reference to the body. And ultimately, I the self is most interior with reference to everything. Beyond which, there is no further interiorness at all. So really speaking, when you pursue this whole sequence of interiorness, it is not that it culminates into somewhere in the matter, it culminates into the very self or Atma, who is the very subject, and the subject cannot be objectified, and therefore he cannot be perceptible. The reason why antaryami is not perceptible is because he is not out there, he is the very subject. And therefore also, tataha navikshade, therefore he cannot be perceived. Well, if he cannot be perceived, kutastarhi tan nirnayahati. If he cannot be perceived, then how do you arrive at it? How do you say it is there? Ityatah aha, it says tataha shruti yuktibhyamayo nirnayaha. Since it cannot be perceived, therefore, what is the nirnaya? So now what ground do you have to arrive at this? Shruti means the Veda or the Upanishad. So as far as Atindriya Vishaya is concerned, then Upanishad becomes Pramanam. As far as Indriya Gamya Vishaya is concerned, well, our perception is Pramanam. But when we come to the Vishaya which is Atindriya, Shruti alone is Pramanam. But then should we simply accept the Shruti? He says, well, Anukula Tarka also is Pramanam. So supporting logic also is there. So Shruti Yuktibhyam. Shruti already quoted. You have Prasivyam Tishtan. So that Shruti, meaning Antaryami Brahman, has already been quoted, and that is the Pramanam to establish the existence of Antaryami, who is indwelling self of all. But what is Yukti? Yukti is Achetanasya Chetana Adhisthanamantaraya Pravritti Anupattihi Yuktihi. But Achetana meaning an inert thing, like the body. Chetana Adhisthanamantaraya Pravritti Anupattihi. This body could not have been active, could not have been moving or mobile unless it was presided over by a conscious principle. Because we know that an inner thing cannot exhibit movement or motion unless it is presided over by or it is favored by a conscious entity. Like a chariot itself cannot move unless pulled by the horses. Chariot itself is inert. Horses are conscious entities. Only when these Chetana or conscious entities such as horses are there, that it is possible for chariot to move. And so also, the whole creation is moving. That shows that some adhisthana must be there. Some conscious adhisthana must be there, without which this movement is not possible. So our body also moves, the mind also moves, and all these inner things are found to be all the time active. That activity in the inner thing is only possible when it is presided over by, that is substratum, which is consciousness. So that Yukti also enables us to arrive at the existence of a conscious entity, which must be the substratum of everything that there is. And also, it is well confirmed by the Shruti, which says this Antaryami is the self of everything. Now what happens? While explaining the Antaryami Padam, this author quoted the passage from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the whole Antaryami Brahman. Now some parts of that very passage are being explained. Yasya sarvani bhutani shariram. Alright, it was said that one who remains within all the beings, whom the beings do not know, for whom the beings are all the body, and who remaining within all the beings controls them all. So yasya sarvani bhutani shariram, yaha sarvani bhutani antara yamayati. So this passage is there. Now the author explains the meaning of those statements from the Shruti itself. In order to, so as we said, these Prakarana Granthas become the commentaries upon the passages of Shruti. And along with all the Yuktis, etc., and therefore these enable us to understand the Upanishads. So yasya sarvani bhutani shariram, that particular statement, ijasya arthamaha, that statement now is being explained in the verse 168. Patarupena samsthana patastantor vapuryatha sarvarupena samsthana sarvamasya vapustatha. Now what do you mean by saying that all the beings are the body of this Antaryami? How do you mean that? It says, Patarupena samsthanat pataha tantoho vapuhu yatha. Yatha just as tanto pataha tantoho vapu. Tanto means a thread and pata means a cloth. So this cloth becomes the body of the thread. How? Tantoho patarupena samsthanat, because it is a thread alone which obtains as the very pata or the cloth. And therefore we can say that the effect becomes the body of the cause. The effect here is what? The cloth. The tantu or the thread is the material cause. And therefore the cloth can be said to be the body of the thread, meaning the effect is the body of the material cause. So just as this cloth becomes the body of the tantu, because the tantu or the thread alone obtains as a cloth, similarly also sarvarupena samsthanat. Similarly also this Atma alone obtains as everything. Atma means Anandamaya Kosha. The difference between Atma and Anandamaya Kosha is that Anandamaya Kosha is endowed with Maya. Atma is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Svabhava. But when he is endowed with the upadhi of Maya, then he gains the designation of Anandamaya. And this Anandamaya is one that obtains everywhere. Sarva Rupena Samsthanat. Says the Tikakara, Patarupena iti, says even Tippanikara, Yaha Sarvatra Tishthan iti Shrivit Pripadikam Sarva Sridatmaha Patarupena iti. Okay. Yes, Sarvatra Tishthan, one who remains everywhere, one who obtains everywhere. So, Patarupena Avasthitasya Tantoho Pataha Shriram Yatha Dasthya Tantu, which obtains in the form of a cloth. For that Tantu or the thread, the cloth becomes the body. Evam Sarvurupena Avasthitasya Sarva Shriram Ityartha. And similarly also, this Anandamaya who obtains everything, and therefore the whole universe becomes his body. Because he is everywhere in the whole universe, like the cosmic person. That's how the Antaryami is described as Virat Purusha or cosmic person, having countless heads and countless eyes and countless legs, etc. His heavens is the head and the earth is the feet and so on and so forth. In this manner, the whole universe is described as the body of this Virat Purusha or this Antaryami, because he is everywhere. So this body, this what we call the physical body is also body. Why? Because I obtain everywhere in the body. The self obtains everywhere in this body, and therefore this particular thing that is called body. And by same definition, the thread obtains everywhere in the cloth, so cloth can be shared with the body. And since Antaryami or Anandamaya obtains everywhere by the argument that was shown earlier, therefore the whole universe becomes his body. Then continuing says, Yes, Sarvani Bhutani Antarahayamayati. Antaryami is this one who remains within and one who controls. Iti Vakyasya Tatparyam Sadushtantamaha Slokadvayana. Now the teacher shows here the Tatparyam, meaning the purport of this particular Vakya, that one who remaining within all the beings controls them, is being explained in the next two verses along with an illustration. Verse 69 says, see, it's very interesting to understand what is meant by controllership. How do you say that Atma rules everything? That rulership is being shown here. Not that he has a thunderbolt in his hand and he rules like a ruler under thread or something. Even though we do say that by his thread or by his sphere the wind blows and the sun shines, etc. It is said. And that seems to create an impression that there is some kind of a ruler here who scares everybody and who controls everyone by a thunderbolt. But that's not the intention. So what is meant by Antaryamitva, meaning what do you mean by saying that the Atma remains within everyone and controls everything? So says here, verse 69, it says, Tanto Sankocha Vistara Chalanadau Pato Yatha Avashyameva Bhavati Nasvatantriyam Pate Manak. Tantoho Sankocha Vistara Chalanadau Pato Yatha Avashyameva Bhavati Nas Pates Manak Swatantriyam. Yatha, just as Tantoho Sankocha Vistara Chalanadau. This seventh case, Sati Saptami, Chalanadau. Sankocha meaning folding, Vistara meaning expanding, Chalanada means movement. Tantoho means a thread. When the thread is folded or shrunk, when the thread shrinks, the cloth automatically shrinks. This we know very well in India particularly. When you buy new cloth, they always advise you to soak it first before you give it to the tailor. Otherwise, you give to the tailor your cloth, make a shirt or a pant or something, and when first time you wash the thing, and the pant is now 3 inches, short, or the shirt you cannot wear again, because it shrinks. Cloth shrinks when the thread shrinks. But Indian tailors are really very smart fellows. When you go and say, hey, why have you made this tight? Don't worry, when you wear it will become alright. Or if you say, how come you made it so loose? Don't worry, you wear it will become alright, however it is. So they say that when you will wash it will expand. Which also happens with certain things, like the t-shirts, As you keep washing them, slowly become loose, The t-shirts start becoming loose. And so, when the thread becomes loose, the cloth becomes, meaning, when the thread stretches, then the cloth stretches. When the thread contracts, the cloth also contracts. The cloth does not have the freedom. So, and also when the thread moves from one point to the other, the cloth also moves from one point to the other. So, pate manak swatantram na. Just as in the cloth, there is no freedom, the cloth does not have freedom at all. It cannot independently determine its destiny, or cannot determine independently where it wants to be. The thread determines where the cloth will be. The thread determines if it shrinks, the cloth has to shrink. Cloth cannot say, I will not shrink regardless of what you do. The thread stretches, the cloth has to stretch. So without really controlling, the cloth gets controlled by the thread. This is the nature of controlling. By the mere presence of thread, the cloth is controlled. Not that the cloth exercises some kind of a control or forces a thread in any way. Since the cloth is, not that the thread exercises a control and forces the cloth in any way. Since the cloth is nothing but the thread, therefore whatever happens to the thread has to happen to the cloth. If the thread burns, well, the cloth has to burn. Tantudahe patadaha. The cloth does not have freedom, not this, I don't want to burn. No freedom at all. If the thread burns, the cloth has to burn. Avashyam bhavati, it definitely happens, and therefore, whatever happens to the material cause has to happen to the effect, or whatever happens to real has to be reflected in the unreal. Another illustration they give is that of reflection. That when I am reflected in a mirror, I become the ruler of the reflection, without really exercising my rulership at all. Because when I stand up, the reflection has to stand up. When I lift my arm, the reflection has to lift the arm. It does not have a choice. Reflection cannot determine, how it will be. It is automatically determined by the image. So merely by the presence, sannidhimatrena, merely by the presence, the image becomes the controller or the ruler of the reflection, or merely by the presence, the material cause becomes the ruler of the effect. And this is the kind of rulership that we mean. We do not mean that this Antaryami really rules in any other way. And that's the idea conveyed in verse 170. Tathantaryamyayam yatra yaya vasanaya yatha विक्रियेत तथावश्यम् भवत्येव न संशयः तथा अंतर्यामी अयम तथा अयम अंतर्यामी यया वासनया यथा विक्रियेत तथा अवश्यम भवति एव न संशयः. Similarly also with Antaryami, just as the thread is the material cause of the cloth, so also this Anandamaya, the Antaryami, is the material cause of the entire creation. And therefore, Tatha in the same manner, what is it? The Tikakara says, Tantu Sankochadana, Pata Sankochadihi yatha bhavati. Just as when the thread shrinks, the cloth automatically shrinks. In a similar manner also, एवं in the same manner, पृथिव्यादिषु उपादानत्वेन स्थितः अंतर्यामी, So also the Antaryami or Anandamaya obtains as Upadanam, or the very substance or the material from which the whole creation beginning from Prithvi is made. The very substance. Because before the creation, all there was Brahman. And then the whole creation came into being. So where did the material come from? The material also came from Brahman alone, meaning Brahman alone is the material for this creation. Before I went to sleep, I alone was. When I went to sleep, I alone was. Then all of a sudden, the whole creation came. What creation? The dream creation came. Now, before the dream creation, I alone was sleeping. After dream creation also, I alone am. And therefore, I alone is the substance or the material for the dream world. So I am called the Upadana Karanam, the material cause of the dream world. In the sense that Adhishthanam or the substratum becomes even the material cause for the Adhyaropa or the projection. The dream world is a projection. So how the substratum becomes the cause for the projection. And so also the whole world is projected on this Anandamaya. And therefore, whatever the Anandamaya does will automatically happen to the world. So, Prithvidyadishu Upadanattvena sthitah antaryami yatha yaya vasanaya, meaning yatha ghatadikaya rupena vikriyeta tatha tat karyajatam avasyam bhavati iti bhavaha. Now, how does the creation come into being? What is it that determines the actual configuration of the creation? Or what is it that determines really the shape of a pot? It is the pot maker who determines the shape of the pot. Meaning the nimitta karanam, or the efficient cause, the nimitta karanam, the instrumental cause, is what determines the shape. The pot itself comes from the clay, which is the material cause, but the form that the pot is given is not determined by clay, is determined by the pot maker, the nimitta karanam. And similarly also, all the forms are aware, like this body has a particular form. What is responsible for this form? If the body has a particular configuration, that it is such and such, is because of the vasana. So the vasana meaning the past desires, all the impressions resulting from the various actions that we perform. It is those subtle effects of the action that determines the nature. And those subtle impressions actually form this body. They shape the body. So shape is given by the vasanas, understand? And therefore, even in the creation, how come the creation has a particular configuration? What determines that? So kamayata. We read in the Upanishads that in the beginning of the creation, the Lord desired, Bahusyam prajaya, may I become many. Now in that desire is contained the desires of all the living beings. So all the jivas, when they are ready to manifest their desires, then the process of creation commences. And so the desire that occurs in the Lord is nothing but the totality of all the desires. And that is where is the blueprint of the entire creation. The entire creation unfolds in a certain manner. And that blueprint is contained in that very desire, which is the product of all the desires or all the vasanas. And therefore, a particular configuration of the shape is the result of the vasanas or the karma. So that also becomes a nimitta karanam. So not only the pot maker is a nimitta karanam or the intelligent cause, but I also become the nimitta. When I order a pot, if I tell a pot maker that I want a pot of 3 liters, then the pot maker makes a pot of 3 liters. Then what is it that is responsible for the pot being 3 liters? My desire. So my desire or my vasana becomes a nimitta karanam, understand? It also becomes a nimitta karanam with reference to the shape of the pot. The knowledge etc. that the pot maker has also becomes nimitta karanam. All that potter's wheel and all sorts of things also become nimitta karanam. But the shape always is the result of a desire. It is a desire in the pot maker. Even if I don't order, suppose pot maker makes a pot according to his own desire, well, his own desire, the vasana, becomes the cause for shaping that pot. And similarly also, so we say, and yaya vasanaya ghatadi karya rupena vikriyeta. Since this Anandamaya or the Antaryami is the material cause, it is that material cause alone gets modified into a particular form like ghata, pata, matha, etc. And how come the material cause gets modified in a particular form? Because of the vasana. So vasanas shape the material cause into a particular form. Just as my desire shaped that particular clay into a particular form called the pot, and so also in accordance with the vasana, the Anandamaya, who is the material cause, keeps on getting modified into these different names and forms. And thus the creation, namely Prithvi or waters or whatever it is, does not have any freedom to be otherwise. Because what they are is determined by the Anandamaya, because he is the material cause. And he alone undergoes his modification in the form of this creation in accordance with the vasanas. And the creation does not have a choice to be otherwise than what it is. Tatha tat karyajatam avasyam bhavati. Just as the poor pot does not have the freedom not to be what it is, because it is given a form according to the vasana of the pot maker, or the vasana of the one who has ordered that pot. And just as the pot doesn't have a freedom, and so also the whole creation does not have freedom to be other than what it is, because it is shaped by the Anandamaya, which is the material cause and which keeps on manifesting or keeps on undergoing the modification in accordance with the vasanas. That pattern is determined by the vasanas. And thus, in all these verses, what the author has shown is Anandamaya is Antaryami. Esha Sarveshwara, Esha Sarvajnaha, Esha Antaryami. He is Antaryami, meaning the indwelling or inner controller of everything in the creation. Now the same idea also is found in Bhagavad Gita. A very important verse from Bhagavad Gita which also conveys this idea is also taken up by the author here for discussion. Says the Tikakara, Evam Antaryami Pratipadikam Shrutim Upanyasya Smrutimapi Upanyasyati. Shruti is Bhagavad Gita, Adhyaya 18, verse 36. Evam, in this manner, Antaryami Pratipadikam Shrutim Upanyasya. Having talked about or discussed the Shruti or the passage from the Upanishad which conveys the idea of Atma being Antaryami or Anandamaya being Antaryami, Smrutimapi Upanyasyati. Now he takes up a Smriti, meaning a verse from Bhagavad Gita also for discussion, because that verse also conveys the Antaryamitvam of the Anandamaya. And this famous verse is quoted in the verse 171. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishthate bhramayan sarvabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. There Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that Ishvaraha sarvabhutanam hriddeshe, hey Arjuna, tishthati. Because Lord Krishna says that you are controlled by a prakriti, and therefore if by ahankara you say, by arrogance or by pride you say that I will not fight, prakritistvam niyokshati. It is a svabhavajena kaunteya. So your prakriti itself is the controller of you, and therefore yadahankaram ashritya nayotsheti manyase mithesha vyavasayaste prakritistvam niyokshati. Hey Arjuna, by mithya abhimana or mere arrogance of the pride you say that I am not going to fight, because Arjuna said in the second chapter, Nayotsya, I will not fight. He says, well, you do not have freedom not to fight. Prakriti swam niyokshati. The Prakriti will control you and make you fight anyway. If you say that you go away into the forest, doesn't matter. That nature of you will ultimately take hold of you and make you fight with the trees or something else, You may not fight in the battle here. And that shows. How come? Then the Lord said, Ishvaraha sarvabhutanam hruddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Hey Arjuna, Ishvara the Lord abides or dwells in the hearts of all the beings. What does he do there? Dwelling in the hearts of all the beings, sarvabhutani bhramayan. He makes all the beings go round and round. Bhramayan. Yantrarudhani maya. All the beings are as though yantrarudhani, meaning all of them are mounted on the machine, like a merry-go-round. And once you sit on the ride on the merry-go-round, you do not have the freedom. It is a fellow who runs at merry or what do you call the roller coaster? What is it? The roller coaster. Once you ride on that thing, that's all. You have no choice at all. So the fellows who are like climbing or riding on these roller coasters. So yantra arudhani, those fellows who are on this Brahmayan sarvabhutani, he makes you go round and round from one action to the other, from one birth to the other. Meaning that you are not free to determine, what you will do. Someone else is there who determines it for you. Meaning that there is what we call an antaryami or an inner ruler. How does he do that? Maya. By Maya alone he does that. So that Maya also is a very important thing. By Maya he makes everyone as though go round and round. If that Maya is not there, that will create a lot of difficulty, as we'll see. Because here is Ishvara the Lord, and here are all the beings. He is a ruler, and these fellows are ruled. That immediately brings about a duality. The ruler is different, the ruled are different. Niyamaka is different, Niyamya is different. And if this duality between the Niyamya and the Niyamaka is a real duality, then what? You always remain controlled alone. In which case there is no freedom at all, there can be no moksha. If you are always controlled and you always ride on this roller coaster because someone makes you do that, that means that you have no freedom at all, you will never be free. Not only that, but then we are accepting the duality between the controller and the controlled as an ultimate reality. Therefore it is said, Maya. As though, not that really there is a duality between the controller and the controlled. In fact, the one who controls alone is the controlled also. The same Ishvara who is a ruler or a controller, alone in the form of Jiva, becomes the controlled one. And therefore in the ultimate sense, the duality between the Niyamya and the Niyamaka is not there, but then we feel that there is a duality. I feel that I am being controlled by something. Swamiji, in spite of all this, why does it happen to me? That shows that there is something that is happening to me. Something makes me do something. And therefore we accept that the duality is experienced, but the duality is not rare in the ultimate analysis. And so how do we account for this duality that we experience of the ruler and the ruled, Niyamaka and the Niyamya? Therefore we say, by Maya. It is Maya that creates the appearance of duality. And that is how the Lord as though becomes the ruler. He doesn't nothing. Tadeyati tannayati. He doesn't do anything at all. He doesn't move at all. And still he seems to be controlling everything. It is sannidhi matrena, merely by his presence. So, Brahmayan sarvabhutani, he makes them go round and round. There is a causal involved here, Brahmayan. Sarvabhutani, what do you mean by sarvabhutani? All the beings. Or what do you mean by the Lord abides in the heart of all the beings? What do you mean by beings? So, says here, the meaning of the word Bhutana, meaning the beings, is given here. Because Bhuta can mean an element. Bhuta can mean a being. Bhuta can mean a ghost. The word Bhuta has several meanings. Bhavandeti Bhutani, those which come into being is called Bhuta. What exactly is the meaning of the word Bhuta in this particular context is being explained in the verse 172. Sarvabhutani Vijnana hrudaye sthitaha tadupadana bhuteshaha tatra vikriyate khalu. Sarvabhutani vijnanamayaha. So, Ishvaraha sarvabhutanam Brahmayan sarvabhutani. When you say all the beings, what is meant is vijnanamaya. The vijnanamaya kosha is what is intended. Meaning the Atma who is identified with Vijnana. What is Vijnanamaya? That Atma, the self, identified with the Buddhi or Vijnanam, which is where the Ahankara sense of individuality is. And therefore, this Jiva, the individual self, which is nothing but the Atma identified with a particular intellect, he is what is meant by the Vijnanamaya, is by what is meant by Sarvabhuta or the Vijnanamaya Atma, meaning this Jivatma. Alright, now where is this Vijnanamaya located? Where is the Atma, the Jivatma located? Te Hrudaye Sthitaha. The Tikakara says, Techa Hruday Pundarike Sthitaha. All the Jivas are in fact abiding or located where? Hruday Pundarike, in this, the lotus of the heart. So this heart is supposed to be the seat of the mind. And who is Vijnanamaya? We say Angushta Matra Purusha. So because Angushta is the thumb, and thumb is supposed to be the space within the heart. So heart is of the shape of a lotus. And within the heart there is a space of the size of the thumb. And that is a seat for Antahkaranam or the heart. That's why we call it heart. And therefore when you use the word heart also, so heart means this lump of flesh, as well as heart also means the seat of emotions, Emotions means feelings. So seat of emotions or feelings. So that is also supposed to be the heart. And it is and since the Jiva is the one, is Atma reflected in the heart of the mind, therefore it is said that the Jivatma also is located in the heart. So that is where it is said here, of course, that when this fellow is waking, the waker has its place in the right eye. And when he is dreaming, his place is, abode is the throat. And when he is sleeping, his abode is the heart. This is the idea there. And so he said, Te Hrudayes. That is why, because Lord Krishna says, Sarvabhutanam Hruddeshe Tishtati. This Ishvara abides in the heart of all the living beings. And therefore he would explain what it means there. So Te Vijnanamayaha Hruday Pundarike Sthitaha. All this Vijnanamaya, meaning the Jivatma, is as though located in the heart, because that is the seat of the mind, and Jivatma is nothing but the consciousness reflected in the mind, and therefore the Jivatma as though abides in the heart. Nanu tesham kutaha hrudi avasthanam iti ashankya. How do we say that? It is all the Jivatma, all the Jivas have avasthana, meaning their place or that they abide in the heart. How do you say that? He says hrudi antaryamina vijnanamaya akarena parinama. Because hrudi in the heart, antaryamina vijnanamaya akarena parinama. What we call vijnanamaya or what we call jivatma is nothing but that Anandamaya alone. The Anandamaya of the Antaryami, when he gets identified with a particular buddhi, then alone he himself comes to be called Vijnanamaya. So Vijnanamaya or Jivatma is nothing but that Anandamaya identified with the buddhi alone is called Vijnanamaya. Says Hrudi Antaryamina Vijnanamaya Akarena Parinama. This Antaryami or Anandamaya, he gets himself modified as a Vijnanamaya on account of identification of the buddhi in the heart. Therefore it is said that this Anandamaya or the Antaryami dwells in the heart. Because that Antaryami alone is Vijnanamaya by modification. And Vijnanamaya is the one who is identified with Vijnana or Buddhi. And Buddhi is that which has its seat in the heart. Therefore it is said that Ishvara, meaning the Antaryami. So Ishvara word in the 171 the Bhagavad Gita verse is nothing but the Antaryami here. And Lord says that He dwells in the hearts of all the beings. And so it is explained how the Antaryami here dwells in the heart. who dwells in the heart is Vijnanamaya. But who is Vijnanamaya? Antaryami himself is Vijnanamaya. And therefore, we say that he dwells in the heart. So tad upadana bhuteshaha. Tad upadana means Vijnanamaya upadana bhuteshaha. Upadana means material cause. So what is the cause of Vijnanamaya? Nothing but this Anandamaya or Antaryami. So bhuteshaha. Bhuta means Swarupa. Tad upadana Swarupa Ishaha. Ishaha or Ishvara or Anandamaya. Who is the nature of the material cause of this Vijnanamaya. Tatra vikriyate khalu. Tatra means Hrudi. Khalu vikriyate. In fact, he alone undergoes the modification in the form of Vijnanamaya of Jivatma in the heart, and therefore we say that it is Anandamaya who is in the heart, or Ishvara is in the heart. We say therefore the Ishvara resides in the hearts of all the living beings. And remaining there, by his Maya, he makes all these beings move or go round and round as though they are mounted on a machine. Okay. Om Purnamadas Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.